In today's society, the criminal justice system is designed to protect the public and provide consequences for those who break the law. But what happens when young people are handed a life sentence? These teenagers face the harsh reality of life behind bars, with no chance of parole. They now have to face the consequences of their actions and live with the knowledge that they will never be free. In this video, we take a closer look at the reactions of teenage convicts as they come to terms with the reality of their life sentences. Are they remorseful for their actions? How do they cope with the thought of never being released from prison? Join us as we hear from these young individuals and look deeper into the emotional impact of life sentences on teenage convicts. Let's start with the case of Jaleel Smith Riley. The guy who shot a couple in Norwood almost 10 years ago was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of release on Wednesday. In November 2013, Portia Brooks and her boyfriend Aaron Martin were shot during a robbery on Carthage Avenue. Brooks died in the hospital after several days. Martin survived with major long-term health consequences. Jaleel Smith Riley confessed to the crime roughly 2 years later. In 2017, his sentence was postponed due to legal wrangling. Smith Riley was indicted on allegations that may have resulted in his execution. He pled guilty earlier that year and was sentenced by Hamilton County Common Pleas Judge Charles Kubicki, only to subsequently inform his counsel that he wanted to amend his plea. Kubicki refused the application for a change of plea before sentence. Brooks's family testified in court about how her death had affected them. Portia Brooks's mother, Sharon Brooks, remembers her as a bright, extroverted 20-year-old who aspired to work with animals. He not only murdered her, she has said, but he also destroyed her mentally and emotionally. Brooks' sister wanted the judge to condemn him for life without the possibility of release. When Kubicki sentenced Smith Riley to life in prison without the possibility of parole, he collapsed in the courtroom and had to be helped back to his feet by sheriff's officers. Next, we have the case of Diana Lovejoy. In 2018, a Carlsbad woman and her gun instructor were sentenced to long jail terms for what police said was a bungled plot to murder the woman's estranged husband, who was shot but survived. Diana Lovejoy was given 26 years life sentence in prison by Superior Court Judge Sim von Kalinowski for conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder. Weldon McDavid Jr. was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison for pulling the gun and shooting the victim on a dark dirt path in Carlsbad. Greg Mulville, the victim, survived. The gunshot occurred in September 2016 as Lovejoy and Mulville were nearing the end of their difficult divorce and custody fight for their son. Deputy District Attorney Jody Breton contended that Lovejoy tricked McDavid into the shooting by faking allegations of abuse. Each denied the presence of a murder-for-hire plan during their sentencing hearing on Wednesday, and there was no intention to kill. In reality, Lovejoy's appeal was quite sentimental in the courtroom. Lovejoy wept as she told the judge that she would never take her son's father away from him, and that she could never do it, and it's so awful that some people in the world believe she has it in her to do so. Each claimed that trial testimony concerning them was false, and each scrutinized evidence against them. McDavid claimed that he had seen several things go wrong with this system and that it is broken. He also claimed that the jury mistook him and that he was guilty. Lovejoy stated that she hopes and believes that the higher reality of what she sought to achieve will be revealed eventually. In fact, she didn't elaborate on what that greater reality was. Breton, the prosecutor who handled the case, told the judge after hearing both speak that the couple was blaming others. According to Breton, what you hear is that it's everyone else's responsibility but their own, and that there is no accountability for what they really did. Apart from all of this, Lovejoy was labeled by the prosecutor as manipulative, narcissistic, and totally self-absorbed, and she has proven that she will stop at nothing. Mulville, who had custody of his kid, was in court but did not say anything. He fled immediately after his ex-wife was sentenced. When the couple divorced in the summer of 2014, Lovejoy claimed that her husband had sexually assaulted her and maybe their little boy. After an inquiry, the family court withdrew the supervised visitation order and granted Mulville joint custody. Following the sentencing hearing, Breton stated that none of the claims leveled against Mulville were accurate and that they were purely a manipulation by Lovejoy to acquire exclusive custody. After a lengthy court struggle, Lovejoy and Mulville reached an agreement in the summer of 2016. They agreed to share custody of their then 3-year-old son, with Lovejoy paying Mulville $120,000. Later on, Mulville was lured to a dark trail off Avenida Soledad near Rancho Santa Fe Road in Carlsbad around 11 p.m. on September 1, 2016, and shot in the side. Lovejoy had met McDavid at the Oceanside gun range where he worked months before, and he had later installed a security system on her home. And despite the fact that he was married, they were intimate on a few occasions, according to pieces of evidence. So, what do you guys think? Did they deserve this or not? Drop your views in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will meet you again in another episode.